The kingdom of Ekin was a place where the sun always seemed to shine a little brighter. The fields were green, the rivers sparkled, and the people went about their day with laughter and songs. At the center of this bustling kingdom was a grand palace, where King Adebayo lived with his 3 daughters. The king was old and wise, and he loved his daughters deeply, but everyone in the kingdom knew that the youngest, Temelaide, was his favorite. Temelaide was not just beautiful. She had a smile that could light up even the darkest room. Her kindness was something everyone in Ekin admired. When people talked about her, they always said the same thing. She's not just pretty. Her heart is pure. Temelaide would often go into the village, helping anyone in need, from feeding hungry children to tending to the sick. It was no surprise that the people adored her. Her older sisters, Folashade and Abike, were also beautiful, but their hearts were nothing like Temelaide's. They didn't care much about the people in the village. They liked fancy clothes, expensive jewelry, and being the center of attention. Folashade, the eldest, was known for her sharp tongue and her love for competition. She always wanted to be the best at everything. Abike, the middle sister, followed Folashade's lead and often joined her in mocking Temelaide for being too kind. "Why do you waste your time with these people?" Folashade had asked Temelaide one day as she handed bread to a hungry child in the village square. "They're not royalty. They're just villagers." Temelaide's eyes softened as she looked at her sister. "They may not be royalty, but they are our people. A good leader cares for everyone, not just themselves." Folashade scoffed, tossing her braids over her shoulder. "You sound like one of those old storytellers. Do you think kindness will get you anywhere? The world doesn't work like that, little sister." But Temelaide didn't argue. She never did. Instead, she smiled and went back to helping the child, leaving her sisters to grumble behind her. Life in the palace went on like this for years until one day, news spread through the kingdom like wildfire. Prince Tund of Age Kingdom was coming to Ekin. He was not only handsome but also one of the most eligible bachelors in the region. His kingdom was wealthy, and his bravery in battle was legendary. Every maiden in Ekin dreamed of becoming his wife, and Folashade and Abike were no different. When the prince arrived at the palace, the entire royal family gathered to welcome him. Folashade wore her finest dress, her hair perfectly styled, and her smile dazzling. Abike was no less prepared, her jewelry sparkling in the sunlight as she curtsied before the prince. Temelaide, however, stood quietly at the back, wearing a simple gown. She wasn't one for showing off, and she certainly didn't think a prince would notice her. But notice her he did. From the moment Prince Tund stepped into the palace courtyard, his eyes kept drifting to Temelaide. When he spoke, his voice was warm, but it was clear who had caught his attention. "Your Majesty," Tund said, bowing to King Adebayo, "your daughters are truly remarkable, but one stands out like the moon on a dark night." Folashade's heart leaped. Surely he meant her. She had spent hours perfecting her look for this moment. But then Tund's gaze shifted to Temelaide, who was nervously looking at the ground. "Princess Temelaide," he said, his voice full of admiration, "your beauty is matched only by your kindness. It would be an honor to know you better." The courtyard fell silent. Folashade and Abike's faces darkened with shock and anger. Temelaide, on the other hand, blushed deeply, unsure of what to say. King Adebayo smiled proudly, knowing that the prince's choice was a testament to Temelaide's character. Over the next few days, Prince Tund spent every moment he could with Temelaide. They walked through the palace gardens, talked about their dreams, and laughed as if they had known each other for years. The people of Ekin were overjoyed. Their beloved princess had found someone who valued her for who she truly was. But not everyone was happy. Folashade and Abike's jealousy grew with each passing day. They had tried everything to gain the prince's attention, playing instruments, reciting poetry, even trying to outshine each other in conversation. Yet nothing worked. Tund only had eyes for Temelaide. One night, as the two sisters sat in Folashade's room, their frustration boiled over. "This isn't fair," Folashade hissed, pacing the room. "How could he choose her over us?" Abike frowned, twisting a bracelet around her wrist. I don't understand it either. She's so plain. What does he see in her? Folashade stopped and turned to her sister, her eyes blazing. It's not just about him choosing her. Don't forget the law. The first princess to marry becomes the heir to the throne. Abike's eyes widened as the realization hit her. If Temelade marries him, she'll become queen one day. She'll have everything. Exactly, Folashade said, her voice low and dangerous. We can't let that happen. Abike hesitated, her voice dropping to a whisper. What are you saying, Folashade? Folashade stepped closer, her expression cold. I'm saying we need to stop her. One way or another. Abike swallowed hard, her heart racing. She had never seen her sister like this before, and it frightened her. But a small, dark part of her agreed. They couldn't let Temelade take everything from them. Not without a fight. As the sisters plotted in the shadows, Temelade and Prince Tund continued to grow closer, oblivious to the storm brewing around them. The palace buzzed with preparations for their wedding, and the people of Ekin couldn't wait to celebrate their princess's happiness. But happiness has a way of attracting trouble, and Temelade's joy would soon face a test she could never have imagined. The night was quiet except for the rustling of leaves in the wind. Folashade and Abike huddled in Folashade's room, their whispers sharp and urgent. We need to act now, Folashade said, her voice firm. If we wait any longer, the wedding will be too close. Abike wrung her hands, her nervousness clear. But what can we do? She's always surrounded by people, and Father would never forgive us if we... Do you think I care about Father's forgiveness? Folashade snapped, her eyes flashing with anger. This is about us, about our future. If Temelade takes the throne, we'll be nothing. Do you want to live in her shadow forever? Abike's lips pressed into a thin line. No buts. Folashade cut her off. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. We'll tell her about the ritual of Ogun. Abike's eyes widened. The ritual of Ogun? But that's just a story to scare children. It's not real. It doesn't have to be real, Folashade said with a sly smile. Temelade is so trusting. She'll believe anything we say. We'll tell her it's a sacred ritual she has to perform before her wedding. Something about seeking Ogun's blessing for a happy marriage. Abike's brow furrowed. And then what? What happens when she goes to the forest? Folashade's smile widened, but there was no warmth in it. We make sure she doesn't come back. Abike gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Folashade, you can't mean that. She's our sister. She's our competition, Folashade snapped, her voice harsh. If you want to spend your life as a nobody, that's your choice. But I won't. Temelade has to go. Do you understand me? Abike's hands trembled in her lap. She didn't answer right away, but the fear and anger in Folashade's eyes left her no choice. Slowly, she nodded. Okay, what do we do? The next morning, Temelade was in the garden, tending to a patch of vibrant flowers. The prince had gifted her the seeds, and she had planted them with care. She smiled as she gently watered the blossoms, humming a soft tune. Folashade and Abike approached her, their faces unusually kind. Temelade looked up, surprised but pleased to see them. Good morning, sisters. You're up early today. Folashade smiled warmly, though it didn't reach her eyes. Good morning, Temi. We wanted to talk to you about something important. Temelade straightened, curiosity lighting her face. Oh, what is it? Abike hesitated, glancing at Folashade, who gave her a reassuring nod. We were talking last night about your wedding, Folashade began, her voice soft and serious. And we realized there's something you haven't done yet. Temelade tilted her head, confused. What do you mean? The ritual of Ogun, Abike said quickly, her voice shaky but earnest. It's an old tradition. Every bride in our family has to do it before their wedding. It's supposed to bring blessings and protection. Temelade frowned. I've never heard of it. Father hasn't mentioned anything about a ritual. That's because it's a secret, Folashade said smoothly. It's not something people talk about openly, but it's very important. Without it, your marriage could be cursed. Temelade's eyes widened. Cursed? That sounds serious. What do I have to do? Folashade's smile widened. It's simple. You have to go to the Forest of Shadows at midnight and leave an offering for Ogun. It's a show of respect, a way to ask for his blessings. Temelade's brow furrowed. The Forest of Shadows? Isn't that place dangerous? Not if you're careful, Folashade said quickly. We'll help you prepare. You'll be fine, Temi. Trust us. A bike forced a smile, nodding along. Yes, trust us. It's for your own good. Temelade hesitated, but her sister's earnest expressions convinced her. She nodded slowly. All right, if it's that important, I'll do it. Folashade's smile widened, satisfaction gleaming in her eyes. Good. We'll help you get everything ready. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the palace in shades of orange and purple, Temelade prepared for the so-called ritual. Folashade and a bike brought her a basket filled with fruits and flowers, telling her it was the perfect offering for Ogun. Are you sure about this? Temelade asked, her voice tinged with doubt. Absolutely, Folashade said firmly. You're doing the right thing, Temi. A bike nodded, though her hands trembled as she tied a scarf around Temelade's shoulders. Be brave, sister. Everything will be fine. Temelade smiled, her faith in her sisters unshaken. Thank you. I'll do my best. As the clock struck midnight, Temelade stepped into the Forest of Shadows, the basket clutched tightly in her hands. The trees loomed tall and dark around her, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Every rustle of leaves made her heart race, but she pressed on, determined to complete the ritual. Behind her, hidden in the shadows, Folashade and a bike watched, their faces pale but resolute. This is it, Folashade whispered. Once she's deep enough in the forest, she won't find her way back. A bike's stomach churned with guilt, but she nodded. Let's go before someone sees us. As they slipped away, leaving their sister to the darkness, the forest seemed to close in around Temelade. The air grew colder, the shadows deeper, and an eerie silence fell. She clutched the basket tighter, her steps faltering as doubt crept into her mind. Was this really a ritual, or had she been led into a trap? But before she could turn back, a low growl echoed through the trees, freezing her in place. Temelade froze, clutching the basket tighter as the growl echoed through the forest. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat louder than the rustling of leaves in the cold night air. She tried to steady her breathing, but fear gripped her like an iron chain. Who's there? She whispered, her voice trembling. Her eyes darted around, searching for the source of the sound. But the shadows seemed alive, shifting and moving in the dim moonlight. The growl came again, this time louder, and Temelade's knees felt weak. She took a hesitant step back, her mind racing. Maybe her sisters had been wrong. Maybe the ritual of Ogun was more dangerous than they'd let on. Or maybe they hadn't told her the truth at all. I need to get out of here, she muttered to herself, turning around. But before she could take another step, a massive figure emerged from the darkness. Its eyes glowed like embers, and its scales shimmered faintly in the pale light. It was a dragon, towering over her with a presence so powerful that Temelade's legs buckled, and she fell to the ground. For a moment, neither of them moved. Temelade stared up at the creature, her fear mixed with awe. The dragon tilted its head, studying her with an intensity that made her feel small and exposed. She wanted to run, but her body wouldn't listen. Instead, she squeezed her eyes shut, clutching the basket to her chest as if it could shield her. Why are you here? The dragon's voice was deep and rumbling, like distant thunder. It wasn't angry, but there was an edge to it that made Temelade's breath catch. She opened her eyes slowly, her voice barely a whisper. I came to perform the ritual of Ogun. I didn't mean to disturb you. The dragon let out a low snort, smoke curling from its nostrils. The ritual of Ogun? Do you even know what that is? Temelade's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. My sisters told me about it. They said it's a tradition for brides in our family. I thought it was real. The dragon's eyes narrowed, and it leaned closer, its massive head hovering just above her. Your sisters lied to you. Temelade's heart sank. She had trusted them, believed they wanted to help her. But now, faced with the truth, she realized how foolish she had been. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them away, refusing to cry in front of the dragon. Why would they do that? She asked softly, more to herself than to the dragon. The dragon pulled back slightly, its gaze softening. Jealousy is a powerful thing, it said. They wanted to get rid of you, to take what you have. Temelade's hands trembled as she gripped the basket tighter. They sent me here to die? The dragon didn't answer right away. Instead, it straightened to its full height, towering over her once more. You're lucky I found you first. The Forest of Shadows is no place for someone like you. Temelade's voice wavered. Will you hurt me? The dragon let out a deep, rumbling laugh. If I wanted to hurt you, I would have already. No, little one. I'm not your enemy. Relief washed over Temelade, and she let out a shaky breath. Thank you, she said softly. But what do I do now? I can't go back to the palace. My sisters will just try something else. The dragon's eyes gleamed with a strange light. You don't have to face them alone. I can help you. Temelade blinked, surprised. Help me? How? The dragon lowered its head, its voice serious. Your sisters have betrayed you, but they've also betrayed the kingdom. Their actions have put not just you, but everyone in danger. If you're willing, I can guide you, teach you how to protect yourself and your people. Temelade hesitated, her mind racing. She didn't know if she could trust the dragon, but what choice did she have? Returning to the palace would only put her in more danger, and running away wasn't an option. Slowly, she nodded. All right, I'll do it. The dragon nodded, a faint smile curling its lips. Good. Then we start now. Back at the palace, Folishade and a bike waited anxiously. They had expected news by now. A servant reporting that Temelade hadn't returned, or perhaps a guard finding her abandoned basket in the forest. But the hours dragged on, and there was no word. What if something went wrong? A bike whispered, pacing the room. What if she found her way back? Folishade's jaw tightened. She won't. The forest is too dangerous. No one comes out of there alive. A bike wrung her hands, her guilt gnawing at her. But what if the stories are true? What if Ogun's spirit protects her? Folishade rolled her eyes. You're being ridiculous. Ogun's just a myth. Stop worrying. But even as she spoke, a flicker of doubt crossed her face. She shook it off quickly, refusing to let fear take hold. She's gone, a bike. Focus on what's next. With Temelade out of the way, the prince will have to choose one of us. A bike nodded reluctantly, though her unease didn't fade. In the forest, the dragon led Temelade to a small clearing, where the moonlight streamed through the trees. It gestured for her to sit, and she obeyed, her legs still shaky from the night's events. If you're going to survive, you need to learn to be strong, the dragon said. Not just in body, but in mind and spirit. Your sisters underestimated you, but you must prove them wrong. Temelade swallowed hard. How? I don't know how to fight. I've never even raised my voice at anyone. The dragon's gaze was steady. Strength isn't just about fighting. It's about knowing who you are and standing firm, no matter what comes your way. You have that strength, Temelade. You just don't know it yet. Temelade looked down at her hands, doubt creeping in. I don't feel strong. The dragon's voice softened. You came into this forest alone, knowing the risks. That took courage. And you chose to trust me even when you had every reason to run. That takes strength too. Don't underestimate yourself. Temelade looked up, meeting the dragon's eyes. For the first time that night, she felt a spark of hope. Maybe she could do this. Maybe she could prove her sisters wrong and protect her kingdom. All right, she said, her voice steady. I'll try. The dragon nodded, its smile returning. Good. Now let's begin. The early morning light filtered through the dense trees of the forest, casting long shadows across the ground. Temelade stood in the clearing, her hands trembling slightly as she gripped a branch the dragon had given her to use as a staff. The air was cool, but her palms were slick with sweat. She wasn't sure if it was the physical exertion or the lingering fear from the night before. "Focus, little one," the dragon's deep voice rumbled, its golden eyes watching her every move. "You cannot protect yourself if your mind is elsewhere." Temelade's lips tightened, and she straightened her posture, planting her feet firmly on the ground. "I'm trying," she said, her voice a mix of frustration and determination. "This is all so new to me." The dragon snorted, a puff of smoke curling from its nostrils. "Of course it's new. You've spent your life being kind and gentle. But the world is not always kind, Temelade. And sometimes you must be strong to protect what matters most." Temelade looked down at the branch in her hands, her fingers tightening around the rough bark. "What if I'm not strong enough?" she asked softly. The dragon leaned closer, its massive head lowering until it was level with her face. "Strength isn't just about muscles or weapons," it said. "It's about courage. The courage to stand when you want to run. The courage to speak when you want to stay silent. And the courage to keep fighting, even when you think you've already lost." Temelade swallowed hard, the dragon's words sinking in. She took a deep breath and nodded. "All right, let's try again." Back at the palace, Folashade paced the length of her room, her face a mask of barely concealed frustration. "It's been a whole day," she said, her voice sharp. "Why hasn't anyone said anything?" A bike sat by the window, wringing her hands. Maybe she's still in the forest," she said, though her voice lacked conviction. "Or maybe the creatures got her." Folashade stopped pacing and glared at her sister. "And what if she made it back? What if she's sitting somewhere, plotting against us?" A bike's eyes widened. "She wouldn't do that. Temmy's not like us. She wouldn't hurt anyone." Folashade crossed her arms, her expression cold. "She doesn't have to. All she has to do is tell father or the prince what we did. Do you think they'll just forgive us?" A bike's face paled, and she looked down at her lap. "What do? We watch. We listen. And if she comes back..." Folashade's voice trailed off, but the hard edge in her tone left no doubt about what she meant. In the forest, the training continued. The dragon had Temelade run through drills, teaching her how to move quickly and stay balanced. At first, she stumbled often, her movements clumsy and uncertain. But with each attempt, she grew more confident. Again, the dragon said as she fell for the third time. Temelade pushed herself up, her knees aching, but she didn't complain. "I'm trying," she said through gritted teeth. "You're not just trying," the dragon said, a hint of approval in its tone. "You're improving. That's what matters." Temelade looked up at the dragon, surprised by the praise. "Do you really think so?" The dragon nodded. "Courage and persistence. Those are the seeds of strength. Keep at it, little one." Temelade smiled faintly, her determination renewed. "I will." By the third day, Temelade's body ached in ways she hadn't thought possible, but her movements were sharper, more controlled. She could dodge and strike with the staff, her confidence growing with each passing hour. "Good," the dragon said as she landed a solid blow against a tree trunk. "Now, let's see if you can do it under pressure." Temelade frowned. "Under pressure?" The dragon grinned, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Let's see how you handle a moving target." Before she could ask what that meant, the dragon swung its massive tail toward her. Temelade yelped and jumped back, barely avoiding the sweeping blow. "What are you doing?" she shouted, her heart racing. "Testing you," the dragon said, its voice calm but firm. "The world won't wait for you to be ready, Temelade. You must be prepared for anything." Temelade's grip tightened on the staff, and she squared her shoulders. "Fine, let's do this." The dragon's grin widened, and it lunged again, its movements surprisingly fast for its size. Temelade dodged, her instincts kicking in as she tried to predict the dragon's next move. Her heart pounded, but she stayed focused, her training guiding her actions. After what felt like an eternity, the dragon pulled back, nodding in approval. "You're learning." Temelade collapsed to the ground, gasping for breath. "That was intense." The dragon chuckled, its voice rumbling like distant thunder. and necessary. The world is full of challenges, little one. You must be ready to face them. Back at the palace, whispers began to spread. Servants had noticed Temelade's absence, and questions were being asked. King Atabeo summoned Folashade and a bike to his chambers, his expression grave. "Where is your sister?" he demanded, his voice heavy with worry. Folashade feigned innocence, her expression calm. "We don't know, father. She said she wanted to take some time to herself. Perhaps she went to the village." King Atabeo frowned, suspicion flickering in his eyes. "The village? For 3 days? Why didn't you tell me this sooner?" A bike shifted uncomfortably, avoiding her father's gaze. "We didn't think it was important," she mumbled. The king's frown deepened. "Find her," he said, his voice firm. "Send the guards if you must. I want my daughter back." As the sisters left the chamber, a bike turned to Folashade, her voice a panicked whisper. "What do we do now? If the guards find her?" Folashade's expression hardened. "They won't, and if they do, we'll handle it. Temelade won't ruin this for us." In the forest, Temelade stood at the edge of the clearing, her staff in hand. The dragon watched her with a steady gaze, its presence a constant reminder of the strength she was learning to wield. "You're ready," the dragon said finally. Temelade's heart skipped a beat. "Ready for what?" "To return," the dragon said. "Your kingdom needs you, Temelade. It's time to show them who you truly are." Temelade hesitated, fear and determination warring within her. But as she looked at the dragon, she felt a surge of courage. She wasn't the same girl who had entered the forest 3 days ago. She was stronger now. She was ready. "All right," she said, her voice steady. "Let's go." The sun was just beginning to rise when Temelade stepped out of the forest. Her feet felt heavy, but her heart was steady. She clutched the staff the dragon had given her, its rough surface a reminder of the training she had endured. Every step brought her closer to the palace, and with it closer to the truth. The dragon had flown ahead, promising to stay nearby but out of sight. "This is your fight," it had said, "but I will watch over you." As Temelade approached the palace gates, she noticed the guards stiffen. Their eyes widened in surprise, and one of them stammered, "Princess Temelade? Is it really you?" "Yes, it's me," she said firmly, her voice carrying a confidence she hadn't known she possessed. "Let me through. I need to see my father." The guards hesitated, then stepped aside. "The king has been searching for you," one of them said. "He's in the throne room." Temelade nodded and walked past them, her steps quick and purposeful. Her heart pounded as she entered the palace, memories of her sister's betrayal flooding her mind. But she pushed them aside. This was no time for doubt. In the throne room, King Atabeo sat with a troubled expression. Folashade and a bike stood nearby, their faces pale but composed. They had spent the last few days weaving lies about Temelade's disappearance, blaming it on her, need for space, and suggesting she had run away to avoid her duties. When the doors to the throne room burst open, all eyes turned to see Temelade standing in the doorway. Her dress was torn and dirty, her hair wild, but her eyes burned with determination. "Temelade!" King Atabeo rose from his throne, his voice filled with relief. "You're alive. Where have you been?" Temelade stepped forward, her gaze fixed on her father. "I was sent to the Forest of Shadows," she said, her voice steady. "My sisters told me it was part of a ritual I had to complete before my wedding." The room fell silent. King Atabeo's face darkened, and he turned to Folashade and a bike. "Is this true?" Folashade's eyes darted nervously, but she quickly composed herself. "Father, she must be mistaken. We only suggested she take some time to prepare herself. We never told her to go to the forest." A bike nodded, though her hands trembled. "Yes, that's all we said. We never meant for her to get hurt." Temelade's grip tightened on her staff, her voice rising. "You're lying. You told me about the ritual of Ogun and said it was a tradition. You knew the forest was dangerous, but you sent me there anyway." Folashade's face twisted in anger. "You have no proof," she snapped. "It's your word against ours." "Enough!" King Atabeo's voice thundered, silencing the room. He looked at Temelaide, his eyes filled with concern. "Tell me everything, my daughter. Leave nothing out." Temelaide took a deep breath and recounted the events of the past few days. How her sisters had manipulated her, how she had entered the forest alone, and how the dragon had saved her. She described her training and the truths she had come to understand about herself and her family. When she finished, the room was quiet. King Atabeo turned to Folashade and Abike, his face a mix of anger and disappointment. "Is this true? Did you send your sister into the forest, knowing the danger?" Folashade's defiance faltered, and she looked away. "We only wanted to teach her a lesson," she muttered. "She always gets everything. The people love her, you favor her, and now she's marrying the prince. It's not fair." Abike's voice broke as tears streamed down her face. "We didn't mean for her to die. We just wanted her to know what it feels like to struggle." King Atabeo's hands clenched into fists, his voice shaking with fury. "You could have killed her. Your jealousy has blinded you to your duties as sisters and princesses. I trusted you, and you betrayed not just your sister, but this entire kingdom." Folashade's face turned red, but she didn't argue. Abike sobbed quietly, unable to meet anyone's gaze. "Father," Temelaide said softly, stepping forward, "I don't want them punished too harshly. They made a mistake, but they're still my sisters. What they need is to understand the weight of their actions." King Atabeo looked at her, his anger softening. "You have a kind heart, Temelaide, perhaps too kind, but I will honor your request." He turned to Folashade and Abike. "You will both be stripped of your royal privileges and titles until you have proven that you understand the meaning of loyalty and family. You will work alongside the people of the kingdom, serving them and learning what it means to lead with compassion." Folashade opened her mouth to protest, but a sharp look from the king silenced her. Abike merely nodded, tears still streaming down her face. As the days passed, the news of Temelaide's return spread throughout the kingdom. The people celebrated her courage and resilience, and her bond with Prince Tund grew stronger. He admired her even more for her strength and humility, and their love deepened. Meanwhile, Folashade and Abike began their service in the village, working side by side with the people they had once looked down upon. It was a humbling experience, and though they struggled at first, they slowly began to change. One evening, as Temelaide walked through the palace gardens, she felt a familiar presence behind her. She turned to see the dragon perched on a nearby hill, its golden eyes glowing softly in the twilight. "You did well, little one," the dragon said, its voice filled with pride. "Your strength and compassion have brought your family and your kingdom closer together." Temelaide smiled, her heart full. "I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you for everything." The dragon nodded, its massive wings spreading wide. "My time here is done. But remember, Temelaide, the strength you need is already within you. Trust yourself, and you will lead your kingdom well." With a powerful leap, the dragon took to the sky, disappearing into the horizon. Temelaide watched until it was out of sight, a sense of peace settling over her. She turned back to the palace, ready to face the future with courage and hope. The lessons she had learned about strength, family, and love would guide her, and she knew she was ready to lead her kingdom into a brighter tomorrow. The palace was alive with preparations for Temelaide's return to royal duties and her upcoming wedding to Prince Tund. The atmosphere buzzed with excitement, but underneath it all, a sense of change rippled through the kingdom. The events of the past days had reshaped not only Temelaide but also the dynamics within the royal family. Temelaide stood in her chambers, gazing out of the large window that overlooked the palace gardens. The soft scent of flowers drifted in on the morning breeze, but her mind was elsewhere. She tightened her grip on the golden staff gifted to her by the dragon, its weight a comforting reminder of her growth. A knock on the door pulled her from her thoughts. "Come in," she said, turning toward the sound. The door opened slowly, revealing Abike. She stepped inside hesitantly, her eyes downcast. "Sister," she began, her voice soft, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." Temelaide shook her head, offering a small smile. No, you're not. What is it? A bike. A bike shifted on her feet, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. I wanted to talk to you. About everything. About what we did. Temelade's smile faded, replaced by a serious expression. Go on, she said gently. A bike's eyes filled with tears, and her voice trembled as she spoke. I'm so sorry, Temi. I know what we did was wrong. I know we hurt you, and I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I couldn't stay silent any longer. Temelade took a step closer, her gaze softening. A bike? Why did you do it? Why did you and Folishade hate me so much? A bike's tears fell freely now, and she wiped at her face with shaky hands. It wasn't hate. It was jealousy. Folishade and I felt like we were invisible next to you. You've always been so kind, so loved. We thought we could never compare. Temelade's heart ached at her sister's words. She reached out, placing a hand on a bike's shoulder. You didn't have to compare yourself to me. You're both strong and capable in your own ways. I never wanted to take anything from you. A bike sniffled, looking up at her sister with wide, tear-filled eyes. I see that now. I see how wrong we were. And I promise, I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Temelade pulled her into a hug, holding her tightly. You're my sister. A bike. That will never change. What matters is that you're willing to grow from this. I forgive you. A bike sobbed against her shoulder, her guilt and relief pouring out in waves. Later that afternoon, Temelade made her way to the village, where Folishade was working alongside the townspeople. The once proud princess was almost unrecognizable. Her fine gowns had been replaced with simple clothes, and her hands were dirted from labor. But there was a new determination in her eyes as she helped a farmer carry a basket of yams. Temelade waited until Folishade noticed her, the older sister's face flickering with surprise before settling into something guarded. Temelade, she said, her tone cautious. What are you doing here? I came to see you, Temelade replied simply. We need to talk. Folishade set the basket down and wiped her hands on her skirt. All right, let's talk. The two sisters moved to a quieter spot under the shade of a large tree. Folishade crossed her arms, her expression hard to read. So, what is it? Temelade took a deep breath, steadying herself. I know why you did what you did. A bike told me everything. But I need to hear it from you. Folishade's jaw tightened, and for a moment, she said nothing. Then she sighed, her shoulders slumping. I wanted to be queen, she admitted. I thought if I could get rid of you, the path would be clear. But now I see how foolish I was. I thought being queen was about power and glory, but it's so much more than that. Temelade's voice was gentle. It's about serving others. It's about putting the needs of the kingdom before your own. Folishade nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I see that now. Working here, helping these people, it's taught me what being a leader really means. I don't know if I'll ever deserve forgiveness, but I'll keep trying to be better. Temelade reached out, taking her sister's hands in hers. You've already started, Folishade, and I forgive you, but forgiveness doesn't erase the past. It means we move forward together, learning from our mistakes. Folishade's lips trembled, and she pulled Temelade into a hug. Thank you, sister. Thank you for being the person I couldn't be. The days passed quickly, and the kingdom prepared for Temelade's coronation as heir and her wedding to Prince Tund. The people celebrated, their joy spilling into the streets as they decorated with flowers and colorful banners. It was a time of renewal, of hope. On the morning of the wedding, Temelade stood in her chambers, dressed in a stunning gown that shimmered like the sunrise. Her father entered, his eyes misty as he took in the sight of her. My little girl, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You've grown into a remarkable woman. I couldn't be prouder. Temelade smiled, stepping forward to embrace him. Thank you, father, for believing in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. King Adebayo kissed her forehead, his heart full. Your mother would be so proud. She always knew you were destined for greatness. The ceremony was grand, held in the palace's great hall. Temelade walked down the aisle with her head held high, her sisters watching from the front row. A bike and Folashade smiled at her, their expressions filled with pride and love. Prince Tund met her at the altar, his eyes shining as he took her hands. "You're radiant," he whispered. Temelaide blushed, her heart swelling. "And you're the reason I have the courage to be here." The vows were exchanged, and as they were pronounced husband and wife, the room erupted into cheers. It was a new beginning, not just for Temelaide and Tund, but for the entire kingdom. Later, as the celebrations continued into the night, Temelaide stepped outside for a moment of quiet. She looked up at the stars, her thoughts drifting to the dragon. "Thank you," she whispered to the night sky, "for everything," and though no voice answered, she felt a warmth in her heart, as if the dragon's spirit was still watching over her, guiding her as she stepped into her new life. The morning sun rose slowly over the kingdom of Ekin, bathing the palace in golden light. The sound of drums echoed in the distance as the people of the kingdom prepared for the grand coronation of Princess Temelaide as heir to the throne. Inside the palace, the atmosphere buzzed with excitement and a sense of purpose. Temelaide stood before a mirror in her chambers, dressed in a flowing gown of white and gold. A simple but elegant crown rested in her hands. Her reflection stared back at her, and for a moment, she felt the weight of what was about to happen. She was no longer just the youngest princess. Today, she would be declared the future queen of Ekin. A knock at the door broke her thoughts. "Come in," she called softly. The door creaked open, and Folashade stepped inside, her face hesitant but kind. "Temi, may I speak with you?" Temelaide turned, surprised but not unkind. "Of course, sister. What is it?" Folashade walked slowly toward her, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. "I wanted to tell you something before the coronation. Something important." Temelaide placed the crown gently on the table and faced her sister. "Go on." "I'm listening." Folashade's voice was low, almost a whisper. "I've been thinking a lot about everything that happened, about what I did to you, and I've realized how wrong I was. I don't think I can ever forgive myself for the things I've done, but I need you to know that I'm sorry. Truly, deeply sorry." Temelaide's heart softened as she looked at her sister. "Folashade, I forgave you the moment I saw you trying to change. We can't undo the past, but we can choose what we do with our future. And I see that you're trying to be better." Tears glistened in Folashade's eyes as she stepped closer. "You're a better person than I could ever be, Temi. You're everything this kingdom needs. You'll be a great queen." Temelaide smiled and reached out, pulling her sister into a warm hug. "And you'll always be my sister, no matter what." The throne room was filled with people from all corners of the kingdom. Nobles, villagers, and warriors stood together, their faces glowing with anticipation. The sound of the drums grew louder as the royal family entered, led by King Adebayo. The crowd bowed deeply as he took his place on the grand throne. Temelaide followed closely behind, her steps steady and deliberate. She felt the eyes of the crowd on her, but instead of fear, she felt a deep sense of peace. This was her moment. The lessons she had learned, the trials she had faced, all led to this day. As she reached the center of the room, the king stood and addressed the crowd. "People of Ekin, today we gather to honor a princess who has shown us the meaning of courage, wisdom, and compassion. Temelaide has proven herself worthy to lead this kingdom. It is with great pride that I declare her the heir to the throne." The crowd erupted into cheers, their voices echoing through the hall. Temelaide bowed her head as the king placed the crown on her head. When she rose, her eyes met the faces of her people. She saw hope, trust, and love reflected back at her. "Thank you," she said, her voice strong and clear. "I promise to lead with all my heart, to serve this kingdom and its people with honor and humility. Together, we will build a future we can all be proud of." The cheers grew louder, and Temelaide's heart swelled with determination. She would not let them down. Later that evening, as the celebrations continued, Temelaide found a quiet moment in the palace gardens. The soft glow of lanterns illuminated the pathways, and the sound of laughter and music drifted through the air. Prince Tund approached her, his smile warm and genuine. "There you are," he said, his voice teasing. "The new heir to the throne, hiding in the shadows." Temelade laughed softly. "I needed a moment to think. Today has been overwhelming." Tund stepped closer, taking her hands in his. "You handled it beautifully. Everyone can see that you're ready for this. I've always believed in you, Temi." She looked up at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you, Tund, for standing by me, even when things were difficult. I couldn't have done this without you." He smiled, his eyes twinkling. "You're stronger than you realize. But I'll always be here, no matter what." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the day giving way to a quiet sense of joy. The future was uncertain, but together, they felt ready to face whatever came their way. Elsewhere in the palace, Folashade and a bike sat together, watching the festivities from a balcony. The sisters' laughter mingled with the sounds of the celebration below. "Can you believe it?" A bike said, her voice light. "Our little sister, the heir to the throne." Folashade smiled, a hint of pride in her eyes. "She deserves it. Temelade is everything this kingdom needs, and she's forgiven us, even after everything we've done. We're lucky to have her." A bike nodded, her expression thoughtful. "We have a lot to make up for, but I think we can be better. For her, for the kingdom, and for ourselves." Folashade placed a hand on her sister's shoulder. "We will be together." The two sisters shared a quiet moment, the bonds of family slowly mending as they looked forward to a brighter future. As the night deepened, the celebrations began to wind down, but the hope and joy in the air remained. Temelade returned to her chambers, exhausted but fulfilled. She placed the golden staff against the wall and sat by the window, gazing out at the stars. The dragon's voice echoed in her mind, a reminder of its parting words. "The strength you need is already within you. Trust yourself, and you will lead your kingdom well." Temelade smiled softly, her heart full of gratitude. She didn't know what challenges lay ahead, but she knew she was ready. With her family by her side, her people behind her, and her own inner strength, she felt prepared to embrace the future. And so, as the stars shone brightly over Ekin, the story of Princess Temelade, the heir, the sister, the leader, entered a new chapter, one filled with promise and light. The morning after Temelade's coronation, the palace courtyard was bustling with life. The vibrant colors of decorations from the night celebrations still adorned the walls, and servants moved quickly to clean and organize. But the kingdom was not just waking up to a new day, it was waking up to a new era. Temelade stood on the balcony overlooking the courtyard. She wore a simple yet elegant gown, the light fabric flowing in the gentle breeze. Her golden staff was in her hand, and the crown on her head gleamed under the sun. The weight of her new responsibilities was heavy, but she felt ready. The lessons she had learned in the forest, the trials she had faced with her family, and the love of her people gave her strength. A knock on the door broke her thoughts. "Come in," she called, turning toward the sound. Prince Tund entered, his face lit with a warm smile. "Good morning, my queen-to-be. Did you rest well?" Temelade chuckled softly. "I tried, but my mind was too full. There's so much to think about, so much to do." Tund stepped closer, his eyes filled with understanding. "You don't have to do it all at once, Temi. You're not alone in this. I'll be by your side, every step of the way." Temelade's gaze softened. "Thank you, Tund. Your support means everything to me." She reached out, taking his hand. "But I can't help wondering if I'll be enough. The people expect so much." Tund squeezed her hand gently. "You're more than enough. You've already proven that to everyone. The way you stood up for yourself, for your family, and for the kingdom, that's what makes you a leader." Temelade nodded, taking a deep breath. "You're right. It's time to move forward. The kingdom needs us to lead." Meanwhile, in the heart of the village, Folashade and a bike worked among the people. Their simple clothes and unadorned appearances set them apart from the royal image they once carried. Folashade's hands were calloused from days of hard labor, and a bike's cheeks were flushed as she carried baskets of grain. The villagers had been wary of them at first, their memories of the sisters' arrogance still fresh. But as days turned into weeks, the people began to see a change. Folashade and a bike worked tirelessly, their actions speaking louder than any words. They listened to the villagers' needs, helped solve problems, and learned what it meant to serve. One afternoon, as Folashade helped repair a broken roof, an elderly woman approached her. "Princess," the woman said, her voice gentle but firm. Folashade paused, wiping sweat from her brow. "Please call me Folashade. I'm not a princess anymore." The woman shook her head. "You will always be a princess to us. But now you are more than that. You have earned our respect, not because of your title, but because of your heart." Folashade's eyes filled with tears, and she bowed her head. "Thank you. That means more to me than you know." A bike, who had been listening nearby, smiled softly. She joined her sister, placing a hand on her shoulder. "We've come a long way, haven't we?" Folashade nodded, her voice steady. "And we still have so much more to do. But for the first time, I feel like we're on the right path." Back at the palace, Temelade sat in the council chamber, surrounded by advisors and village leaders. It was her first meeting as heir, and the room buzzed with both anticipation and skepticism. One of the elder advisors, Chief Olanei, spoke first. "Princess Temelade, the people are eager to see what changes you will bring. But there are many challenges ahead. How do you plan to unite the kingdom and address the needs of the people?" Temelade straightened her posture, her voice calm but firm. "By listening to them. For too long, the voices of the villagers have been ignored. We cannot lead if we do not understand their struggles. My first priority is to establish councils in every region, where representatives of the people can bring their concerns directly to us." A murmur of approval spread through the room, though a few faces remained skeptical. "And what of the treasury?" another advisor asked. "The kingdom's resources are stretched thin. How do you plan to manage that?" Temelade paused, considering her response. "We will start by reducing unnecessary expenditures at the palace. The people come first. If we lead by example, others will follow." Chief Olanei's stern expression softened, and he nodded. "A wise answer, Princess. I believe you will do well." The meeting continued late into the afternoon, with Temelade addressing each concern thoughtfully. By the end, even the most doubtful advisors seemed convinced of her capabilities. As night fell, Temelade stood once again on the balcony, looking out over the kingdom. The lights of the village twinkled like stars, and the faint sound of laughter reached her ears. "You're thinking again," Tun's voice came from behind her. He stepped up beside her, his presence comforting. Temelade smiled. "I can't help it. There's so much to do, so much to learn." Tund wrapped an arm around her shoulders. "And you'll handle it all just like you always do. One step at a time." She leaned into him, her heart full. "I couldn't do this without you," he chuckled. "And I wouldn't want to do anything without you. We're a team, Temi. Always." As they stood together, watching over their kingdom, Temelade felt a deep sense of peace. She knew the road ahead would be challenging, but she was ready. With her family by her side, her people behind her, and her own strength guiding her, she knew they would build a brighter future together.